Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening or watching the Angel Rock live on 105.3 out in New Orleans, Louisiana, and you may be watching on one of our profiles that we stream to. I'll talk about that a bit in a minute. Now, if you've never been to the show, welcome. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse. I want to remind you also, you guys will see my face here with my co-host again this coming Thursday, same time, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the thing at the foot of the bed with my, like I said, my co-host David Hansel. We got Zachman here already. Welcome. So if you want to join the conversation like Zachman is, please head over to either our Facebook page or YouTube channel under the name of UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We are known as UPRN and United Public Radio Network. We have two names. Sometimes people just don't want to list UFO Paranormal Radio with it, so we understand. That's why we go under United Public. Again, I have great guests on the show all the time. They come from all walks of life and from whatever they're doing, either personally or extracurricularly. They're making a positive change for humanity, and they cover all aspects of the esoteric, I say, the spiritual side of things, the paranormal side of things, a bit of truth seeking thrown in, as well as the power of the mind, who we are as powerful individuals, and the power of positive thinking. Now, tonight, I have an amazing guest. I've been trying to have her on forever, but we are crazy busy, the two of us, and to get our schedules going, and it's just insane. So I have to wear my glasses. I thought I escaped the scourge. When I hit 50, I wouldn't need them, but I do need them. So she's got a very interesting bio. Even I didn't know some of these things about her. So we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to start it off. Lucid Dreaming, the investigation and integration of conscious awakening and taking action inside your dreams whilst in dream states. Lucid Living, the implementation and manifestation of lucid dreaming practices in the waking state. That's some of the things we're going to talk about. So about my wonderful guest, Lana. I hope I said that right, Lana. I should have asked you ahead of time.
Lana,
or
yeah.
Lana. Is it Lana?
Lana.
Lana? Okay, Lana. I'm sorry. I should have asked you. You should remember.
No
So
worries.
Lana
All different
was born
accents.
in London, UK, and grew up there until the age of 19, where she moved to Tokyo, Japan, in order to get clean from drug addiction. She lived in Tokyo for 5 years, mastered Japanese, worked as a PA for the CEO of Mitsubishi, and met the love of her life. She got married at 24 and moved to Boulder, Colorado, where she pursued a Master of Science degree in consciousness, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology. Upon graduation, she became a pioneer in the lucid dreaming field for mental health research. Working with clients across the globe, she won an award for publishing the first scientific paper in the world on the healing and transformative potential of lucid dreaming for treating clinical depression. Try saying that 3 times fast. After starting her own business of Get Lucid with Lana, she launched, my mouth does not want to work, the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab, which focuses on helping spiritual and conscious entrepreneurs use lucid dreaming and living practices for personal development, entrepreneurial expansion, and transpersonal mastery. Wow, I had a hard time with that. Welcome, Lana. I'm so glad to have you on here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, right?
I know. How many messages have we had back and forth, but you're
Only
crazy
for
busy
about
like
a
I
year.
am.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Monday nights were particularly busy for me, but the world has me in Texas now. And so as soon as that happened, I thought about it and I was like, oh my gosh, our schedules will actually align now.
Well,
So it was
I was going to mention Texas, and I thought, no, I'll let you throw that in there because I hadn't really talked to you about that. And you even messaged me just before, did you get the bio? And I go, yes, I got the bio. I got everything. We're all set. So let's talk about this, because in our field with spirituality, especially, and it's not just spirituality based lucid dreaming, but for people, what exactly is that in your own words? Sort of why
Mm.
did you get into it? And what's the difference between astral travel and lucid dreaming? Pick whatever one you want to start with, maybe at the beginning, whatever you want to do. What got you
Yeah.
into this?
Well, I had my first lucid dream when I was about 4 years old, and
Mhm.
it's actually pretty common for children. Like, a lot of children will have lucid dreams, I think, just because they are much more open to the dream space. They sleep for longer. They're in
They
that
live in the
creative.
now. They live
Yeah,
in the now. They're
totally.
not weighed
Right,
under by all this disbelief.
right.
They just put things for what they are, right?
Exactly. They're not having dreams about just being at the office that they'd rather wake up and
Mhm.
forget.
Yeah.
They're still loving everything in the dream space and learning and processing, right? So it's pretty common for a lot of kids, especially, I don't know, maybe between the age of like 5 to 10 kind of thing.
Mhm.
So anyone who's got nieces, nephews, kids of your own, even if you've never spoken about it before, I reckon if you go ask them, like, oh, have you had a lucid dream? A lot of them will be like, oh, yeah, I do that all the time. If you explain what it is a little bit.
So
But
let's
for
explain
me,
that to people because I forgot to mention to you that this goes out to every country our network. I forgot to mention that too to people that please share and like our subscribe to our network if you're on YouTube. We are on Roku. Forgot to mention that. Sorry about that, guys. Um, if you do want to find the channel on Roku, you go to sign into your Roku account. You're going to go to Roku TV, I believe, and it's the channel section, and you're going to search for UFO space P as in paranormal. I don't have the channel code for you, and you'll be able to watch on Roku TV. Sorry about that. I wanted to throw that in there.
no, yeah, definitely. I want to see it on Roku too.
Mhm.
um, Yeah, so for me, the definition, like the most simple definition of lucid dreaming is just any dream that you're having where you are aware that you're in a dream. It could be for a couple of seconds where you're like, oh, my grandma who passed away is here. Like, I must be dreaming right now. Then maybe you just go off into your regular dream again. Or it can be a really in depth lucid dream where you realize you're dreaming and then spend a long time just really consciously narrating the dream and changing things and doing things inside the dream. But in the simplest terms, it's just any dream where you recognize you are dreaming. So it's not just like a really vivid dream that was really clear when you woke up. It's not that. It's a dream where inside of your dream that you are in a dream. You're conscious that that's what's happening.
That's where I
So,
was going with this, was to say it's not just people from the spiritual side of
right.
things that would see this, but you explained it beautifully because anybody could recognize this. Okay, I got a question for you. So,
Yeah.
because it isn't always out there how clear what lucid dream is.
Mhm.
I have a general idea, obviously, astral travel. But so you said it's a dream where you know that you're dreaming, and like you said, it could just be for a few seconds and what. So, what would you make of this very quickly? And not challenging you, I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
So, I've met many people, myself included, that actually how I got on my spiritual journey is because of extreme paranormal activity in a previous home. But it started
Mm.
with a dream after I had watched The Secret. I was with my first husband, and it was about 16 years ago. I remember it like it
Mhm.
was 10 minutes ago. It was so real, the
Yeah.
colors, everything. So, what would that sort of clip still, I guess, fall under that? Or what would that just be, a really clear dream that I knew I was there? I was very cognizant. I didn't control it in any way, but I can tell
Right.
you that I didn't say to myself during the dream, "Oh, I'm in a dream."
Yeah.
You
So
see what I'm
then it's
saying?
just a very vivid dream, or it might be like, it depends on the dream. Like, some people
It was
term them as
prophetic.
like paranormal dreams or prophetic dreams,
It was
precognitive dreams.
prophetic. Everything I
Yeah.
was told, the entity that was, it was a tree in my yard, in my front yard. The
Yeah.
entity that was looking like a man told me its
Yeah.
name, told me what kind of entity it was, spelt its
Yeah.
name for me. In the
Yeah.
dream, I told it to leave. I can't say
Yeah.
what I said on on radio, what I said. And then it tried to tempt me with anything behind my wildest dreams if I agreed to follow it. And again,
Wow.
I told it absolutely no freaking way. And so
Uh-huh.
it started laughing at me and mocking me. And then I called on Archangel Michael. So I knew in the dream that that's what I needed to do. And I
Mm,
can't even describe the colors. And I woke up
mhm.
in a sweat, shaking and
Yeah,
crying. But everything
yeah.
afterwards that he had told me, I found in books, word for
Mm,
word. I didn't even know this name. That's why I was asking
yeah,
you. I thought I got to ask the
yeah.
expert here.
Yeah,
So,
no, that sounds like a very profound prophetic dream, and
mhm,
I I think there's an importance to both levels of it, right? Like there are some dreams that I'm really glad I wasn't lucid because I really just wanted
yeah.
to be in that space and receive and download. And so I think lucid dreams are useful for kind of going like re-entering a dream again or finding more
Mhm.
information, or for example, if you wanted to like go back to that dream, re-enter it, and ask something else, then you might want to induce
Yes,
a
my
lucid
partner's
dream.
very good at that.
Oh,
So,
cool.
what I wanna ask you, I'm really excited because I have a gazillion questions, and I wasn't gonna take up
Okay,
your time off air because 'cause I'm sure other people have them. Yes, he can do that. He can go back in a
cool.
dream, but he says he
Mhm.
trained himself how to do that, but I know there's some, like you said, children that are naturally adept at this. So, is this
Mhm.
part of what you do? Like, do you train people? How do you do this? I'll stop
Yeah.
talking, you go ahead.
No. Yeah, exactly. My main, full time job, I guess you call it, but my career path is helping people induce lucid dreams and figuring out the easiest method for them to do that, and helping them create a plan of what they want to do in the lucid dream space, so that because for some people it is hard to have a lucid dream and it doesn't come naturally to them, right? And so when they have the experience, it's all well and good being like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm dreaming, it's happening. And then a lot of people are just like, now what do I do? And then they just wake up because they didn't have that, plan in place of, okay, like this is really what I want to explore or do, or any of that. So I really help people both induce lucid dreams themselves so that they can go take a nap and have one, or go to bed and have one, and then also put together a really clear plan of like techniques they can use in the dream space so that they can achieve what they want to achieve, whether it's something that's like self-development based, or a spiritual practice they want to try, or an inquisition, or they want to, maybe they just want to fly around and eat cake, that's all good stuff also. So
But I
yeah, it's really
stopped you. I stopped you, and I'm sorry in my excitement, and that's my fault. I apologize. You had said,
yeah,
okay, because I'm curious what got you into this, and I was the
yeah,
one that led you astray. So you said you had your first dream, you lucid dream around 4. So how did
yes.
you get where you are now? Sorry, that's my fault. Hi, Michelle in Australia.
Thank
We got
you. No,
Debbie.
yeah, that's a
Hi.
lot of things to talk about. So yeah, I had it when I was 4. I was having nightmares. Like every
Oh,
single night, I was having these kind of Disney villain nightmares where I was like in a forest and there was these like scary kind of characters there. And I remember that one of the nights I was just like, I don't want to have a nightmare anymore. That feeling where you've had one and it's really intense and you're going to bed the next day or something. You're just like, oh man, I don't want to go to sleep and experience that. And I'd been watching like a cartoon TV show uh, before, when I got home from school, or whatever it was. And so I was like, all right, tonight, if I have a nightmare, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the button. It was like this
yeah, get
logo.
down.
The the show I watched was called CITV. It was like a cartoon kind of channel.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to see the CITV button, push it, and everything will turn into cartoon and I'll be fine. And that was
Okay.
just like a simple plan I made, like my own kid version plan. And that night, sure enough, like nightmare type Disney villain character appears. I'm in this like dark forest. And I was like, nope, not tonight. And I just see the button appear like right in front of me.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
slammed it and everything turned into cartoon. And so then I was like, oh my gosh. And I realized I could change it. I knew I was dreaming and I could like shrink down characters really small and make them different shapes and change the trees and the lights and all of that stuff. And so then I just had this awesome experience where I wasn't scared anymore. And obviously, when I was 4 years old, I didn't know that's what a lucid dream was. But that was just something I continued to do throughout growing up. And then it wasn't until I think I was, maybe 15, 16, kind of aging us now, but the internet was invented, right?
Yeah.
And then I was looking up dream stuff online or whatever and found other people who were talking about lucid dream. And I was like, oh, that's the thing that I've always been able to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've just done it kind of spontaneously deciding to as a child, but it can seriously be that simple for other people now, literally like picking out something that comes up frequently in your dream space, whether it's like you always dream of water or dogs or something like that, and deciding, okay, the next time I see a dog or an alligator in my dream, I'm going to remember that I'm dreaming and get lucid. And it can really be as simple as that.
So we do have a question, but I have one for you.
Yeah.
I've never been one to remember most of my dreams. Like, it's got to be something significant, or spirit will wake me up and say, you need to wake up and write this down. And I do. I keep books by my bed.
Yeah.
I actually, when I talk to people about dreams, because never mind that we can control and explore, and I can't wait to talk more about this topic. I'm so excited about it. But also, like you said, there's many different types of dreams, and there's a lot of information. So I say by the time most of us, our feet hit the ground and we're off running to the bathroom or grabbing a cup of coffee, we forget a lot of the dream. So say you're someone like me, though, I know I dream, but I don't remember most of them. How would someone like me, for example, and there's many people, they'll say, I don't dream. Well, yeah, you do. We
Yeah.
all dream, whether we believe it or not. How do you create something with lucid dreaming?
Yeah. I think it's like for dream recall, building dream recall is super important that you create a
Yes.
method that works for you. So, if you're a parent and every morning you have 3 kids jumping on top of you, you're not going to be someone that has this intricate dream journal that you can spend 30 minutes writing out your dream in the
Or a
morning.
100-something-pound German Shepherd that, just like
Yeah,
a child,
that's
I
true.
have jumping on here. I know she's on my bed. She knows she's not supposed to be, but she knows Mom can't get me off the bed. So
She knows what she's doing. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, and if you're someone like that, then I recommend dream journaling at a different time. It might be that you're someone who has like mini awakenings throughout the night. They might only be 30 seconds when you're rolling over or something like that. But then maybe you're someone who benefits from using like a voice recorder instead, where just during a 10-20 second period in the night, you can roll over, hit record, and just say, like, in my high school, speaking with my mom, feeling really excited about blah, 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 right? And you just kind of speak out a mini snippet of what the dream is. That's one way to build dream recall, doing that in the middle of the night or 10 seconds in the morning, or, bullet pointing something, making it simple for you. So one of the methods I use is called CEEO, which stands for characters, emotions, environments, and observations. And if you can just track all 4 of them are great. If you can only even do one, you can build a lucid dreaming practice from that. So say this week you're like, I'm just going to track the environments. And then every morning or in the middle of the night, you made it your mission to be like, let me bullet point as many environments as possible. And so in the morning, you just got to take 5 seconds to be like, high school, childhood home, bathroom, fiance in the office with the fiance or whatever it is, any place that you find yourself in the dream space, and you start working on that, then your brain really gets into that mode of like, oh, we've just got to remember this piece, and it's not as overwhelming as like, oh, I need to write out this entire narrative, because sometimes dreams don't even work like that.
Well, I don't sleep much either. Like, I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3 hours, and that's what made me think of that, because she said children sleep longer, right?
Yeah.
That could probably be a big piece too, which I'll get back to, because Zach asked an interesting question. He said, "Are
Okay.
there cases of lucid dreamers who sleepwalk?" I asked from experience, since I was sleepwalking once while dreaming that I was fighting a giant spider that came out of my wall. Interesting.
Wow. So I don't know that that would have been a lucid
Yeah.
dream unless
Yeah.
you were aware that you were lucid
That you
dreaming.
wanted the spider there and you wanted to practice your boxing and you were aware that you were awake and you were creating this, right?
Totally. But I think in general, the lucid dream state is usually in a pretty deep REM state. So usually it's when you've already gone into, sleep paralysis, or in the morning when you're still in sleep paralysis and you're pretty deep in there. It's a lot of people think like, oh, because you're doing something, you're probably in this like really light stage of sleep where you're like about to wake up any moment, but it's usually not in that space. Usually when you're in like a deep, lengthy stage of REM sleep. So I would imagine in most cases, lucid dreamers aren't moving. But you can see your eyes moving, which is a lot of why in the REM sleep, when your eyes move left and right. And that's one way that researchers have been able to communicate with lucid dreamers, by asking them a question and getting them to move their eyes left and right if they can
Oh,
hear the question come through. Yeah. But other than that, I think you're
interesting.
pretty paralyzed. Yeah.
Well, I have seen cases, it's rare because we have this innate structure, whatever you want to call it, but when we're dreaming, that we are paralyzed, so that we don't act out fighting a spider coming out of the wall and jumping out your window or something, thinking you're going into the hole to go fight the spider, right?
Right.
There are some people that I've seen with research that there's a dysfunction, but that's very dangerous, but it's very, 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 very rare. But you're right, you
Yeah.
are paralyzed, so that you don't act out these dreams.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to be lucid and not paralyzed, because I mean, if especially a lot of people, their first lucid dreams, they want to try flying and things like that you can't do in the normal waking state. So then, yeah, we could have people, jumping out their windows and stuff.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think it would be a
Well,
good
even
combination.
sleepwalkers are
Yeah,
dangerous when they're, I mean, I can't tell you, well, I don't have to tell you. I mean, with the study that you've done and the field that you work in, but the things people have done sleepwalking, it's amazing that they're still able to wake up the next morning sometimes and tell people, or, don't remember what they did. And I think we
yeah,
see more of it now with those cameras, security cameras in homes. A lot of people didn't even know, I've seen that they sleepwalked and then they
yeah.
saw on their cameras, right?
Right. Yeah. I followed a couple of accounts like that, where they're out in the kitchen and they're eating stuff and doing
Mhm.
all of this. So
Cooking, and
yeah,
some of
yeah,
them are hilarious. And the person that had the dream is posting it, but and they're going out the front yard, or I can't tell you how many ones I've seen where people are gaining all this weight and they're exercising like crazy and they're super strict with their diet and can't figure out, why am I putting weight on? And then they find out exactly
yeah.
what you said, right? During the night, getting up, cooking this massive 10-course
That's
meal and
funny.
devouring it, and cleaning up
Yeah.
the dishes in the kitchen, so no clue that they were doing that during the night.
No, yeah, it's amazing what you're able to do. But yeah, I'm
Mhm.
very thankful that I don't have that problem, especially as I love eating in a lot of my lucid dreams. So yeah, our fridge would be empty every morning for sure.
I'm going to tell Michelle. I wish, well, that might be something we might be able to get into. So, Michelle, she's a good friend of the show. She supports us. And she said, I remember a dream from when I was around 3 years old.
Mhm.
Had a merry-go-round in my room, carousel with a lot of fog, no idea what it meant. But that's not what
Mhm.
really lucid dreaming is. Is it? Like, we're not getting into necessarily dream interpretation, or are we? Because it's more
Well,
what we want to
lucid
create,
dreams,
right?
yeah, they're definitely a great place to do that deep dream interpretation. So, most people, when they have a lucid dream, they either want to go into inquisition, like asking a question, or they want to take action with something. But lucid dreams are amazing for taking you know, an old dream and re-entering it to find out like what did this mean, or a repeating dream theme, something like that. Like if you were having consistent dreams of merry-go-rounds, or where you're in that kind of foggy environment, so getting lucid in the dream and literally speaking out to the dream, like, what does this fog represent? What does the merry-go-round represent for me? And being shown an answer or receiving an answer for that. So our dreams are just like a deep conscious, well, unconscious all the way to super conscious process of our lives and the collective, I believe. So they're, the key to a lot of things going on within us that we don't always pay attention to or process in the waking state. And they can be super powerful for entering into a lucid dream and really asking a question like that. Why does this person always show up in my dream? What do they represent? What does this environment really mean to me? All of those kinds of things are great for using as a kind of crux to induce a lucid dream, so to speak.
I'm glad you said that, because I've had her name is Delphi Ellis. She was over from the UK, but she have you heard of her before? Yeah, I
No.
don't know if you have or not. Yeah, okay. So she was talking about all the information that you have in your dreams, and I have to agree with her when she had said on the show that the best person to tell you what a dream means is yourself. And it's
Yeah.
true, right? We get all these people that want to tell you what a dream means, and there's books, and I have books, I bought books, I've looked at them
Mhm.
because people will ask you, but when you really break it down, it's the individual's own dream, right? And it's coming
Yeah.
from either their subconscious, or, like you said, super conscious, or whatever we may call it or label it. They're the
Yeah.
ones, they know what that symbology means to them, right? So that's an
Yeah, and a
exciting
lot of
place.
the time that isn't in the journal itself. It's only when you really talk to that person because, for example, if I had a dream riding a horse, but
Mhm,
in my childhood, I'd lived with horses, I'd grown up with them. They
mhm.
were, like my soulmate animal.
Yeah.
It's something that I'd spend a lot of time with. That's going to have a totally different meaning showing up in a dream to me as it would for someone who like fell off a horse or got kicked by a horse when they were a kid, or if a horse is showing up for someone like that, it's probably more of a negative experience. So I definitely think it's super fun, going on Google or looking something up.
Of
I do that
course.
as well if I want a bit of extra glimpse into what does the collective think about this
Yes.
symbol particularly. But yeah, I definitely recommend trying to do your own kind of dream analysis first with something where you think about like, okay, what do I think it means to me, or getting lucid and really having that discussion with yourself where you don't have the internet and everyone else's opinion coming at you, right? And it's just you and like really connecting to source with what you think it represents for you.
So this is so exciting. Like I said, I love topics like this. So, but I can see people listening to this going, okay, still trying to figure out what a lucid dream is. And I think you made it pretty clear, and I appreciate that. But the next question I can see people asking themselves, either watching or listening to this, is, okay, so why would I want to do this? And I
Mm.
can literally hear the thought of, why wouldn't anybody want to do this, right? But let's start there. Like, what can we do with lucid dreaming? And are we able to train ourselves to do this if we're not natural at it? Because some people are natural lucid
Yeah.
dreamers. They've all, like you said yourself, you would have probably, I would classify you probably as one that's very natural with it, or whether you were able to do it, like you said, you had that real aha moment, and
Mm-hmm.
how empowering that would be to a small
Yeah.
child of 4 to know,
Yeah.
hey, I can control this. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are really endless. I think of it kind of like AI, where it's like the AI is as good as the question you can come up with. And lucid dreams kind of
Mhm.
work the same way as that. Like it is as limited as your mind is, essentially. And it's kind of like your own virtual reality. So, when I was a kid and I was lucid dreaming, I was using it for kid stuff. I used my lucid dreams to learn how to ride a bike. I used them for acing my spelling tests at school. I used them for, mastering Japanese. Whereas now I use my lucid dreams mostly for business ventures. I used a lucid dream in 2020 to create an entire online course that made me hit $250,000 in my business. That
Wow.
entire concept came directly from a single lucid dream that I had. So it really depends what you're focused on. And I also, with my research, it was all about using lucid dreaming for treating depression,
I was just thinking
overcoming.
that that was my next question. So how can you use it to
Yeah,
help yourself heal? Or
yeah,
I don't say this with any judgment in any way, shape, or form, but I think we have an epidemic of
yeah,
mental health issues and depression and anxiety. And, a lot of people I've run into, pharmaceuticals are not helping them, therapy a little bit, and what have you. So
yeah.
this sounds so powerful and something that we
Mhm.
do every night. How does that work?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I was feeling the most depressed that I had felt in my life, I wasn't in a position where I was like, well, I'm going to take myself to therapy every week, right? I was skipping therapy. It wasn't something I could really afford to pay for. And the times that I did go, it was really hard for me to even get the words out about what I was experiencing, because a lot of time you're not experiencing anything, right? You feel nothing or worse than nothing. And so it was ironic because I was in this room with this person who wants to help, but they were reliant on me being able to explain what was going on within me, and I wasn't in a
Yeah.
position to do that. So I noticed that when I was depressed, I was sleeping a lot, which is, I think, common for people with depression. It's kind of that escapism thing. And my dreams were one of the only places where I recognized I was actually having a good time, right? Because in my dream space, I could be anywhere, I could be doing anything I wanted. I wasn't bound by things like money or work or the general things that we kind of suffer with a lot
Mhm.
growing up or in our waking lives. And so that really struck me as something that was deeply powerful, both for, you know, getting little tasters of experiences of, our greatest desires and things that do make us happy, little snippets of that, as well as it actually being a space where it's kind of like the doctor and the patient at the same time, because in a lucid dream I didn't need to explain or have the words to share like what was going on to someone else. It was more like me doing it to myself. And as you've probably experienced yourself, Lorilei, with, you know, things in dream work and spiritual practices can happen telepathically, or it's just like a
Yes.
download, right?
Mhm.
So that to me made so much sense of how I was able to kind of process a little bit more of what was going on and really get to the depths of what some things meant for myself. So that's kind of where I started in the healing process, was a lot of those things like I was sharing with particular characters, environments, emotions that were coming up, and really starting to explore what they meant for me.
Yes,
And
Matt, type that out. Thank you, Matt. Sorry,
yeah,
I put that up there for people.
yes, character, environment, emotions, observations. Those are kind of like the 4 baseline categories. For my journal now, I have, I think, almost 80 different categories that I break it down into, but
Wow.
you don't need to start with 80. You can start with
Yeah.
4 at the base level. But exploring some of those, seeing what those things meant, and then, yeah, I really felt passionate about, well, this is helping me so much. Like, does this process work for other people as well? Which is why I started conducting my research, and I put out a little survey online asking people about if they'd had experiences with lucid dreams for that helped their mental health. And within the first 24 hours of putting that out, I had over 100 responses from like 30 different
Wow.
countries in the world. And that was kind of the catalyst to me being like, okay, this is something universal that a lot of people have experienced, like you shared as well, just a really profound dream or a precognitive dream or something that's being revealed to them in the dream space. And so if they're able to work with that material consciously as well as subconsciously, you can make a lot of moves with that, I guess.
Well, that's so powerful. And again, like I'm not afraid to use myself or whatever. Sorry, all these crazy things with my internet. You guys said I got a virus popping up. How does a virus pop up? I'm just live. I'm gonna close it. So it's like right in front of us here. So thank you, Matt, for that, by the way, listing it. So hi, Jane. Welcome. Jane's here too. She's from Louisiana, I should say.
Awesome.
So I'm not afraid to use myself. So, obviously, when we get into the spiritual field, now again, I want to remind people you don't have to be part of the spiritual field to do this. This affects everything in every part of your life. Looking at, we all, I believe, need healing. We all do to unravel, not pointing a finger at somebody, but we have issues or we've got belief systems. We've got everything in our life that we take a look at that maybe say, why aren't we making that money we want to make? Why don't we have that dream job that we have? Why are we not maybe, people will think, well, I've met lots of people with readings and stuff that why am I not meeting that right person? Why am I not whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need healing. I think that we could always look at these types of things and look at it, something you do every night. You'll hear people say, well, we sleep for 8 hours a night. I wish to God I could just work during that 8 hours. So here we are, right? And why are we not taught to do this? Because imagine if every human being was aware of this as a young child, that we could
Yeah.
create and do what we need to do, explore. And the reason why I mention this is because I'm still looking at this. I'm still work in progress, obviously, as we all are. But I do know one of my things is I think I have a fear of success. So what if we use that?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like myself that sleeps very little, doesn't always remember their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got other things working and figuring it out with the manifesting, the whole bit, but I'm still not at that point. And I'm not asking to make a bajillion dollars. Would I be
Yep.
open to it? Of course. I just want to be financially free and be able to pay what I want to pay
Mm-hmm.
or go on a trip or, anything extra I would probably
Yeah.
give away or an animal rescue sanctuary or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's why part of why I created the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab. It's not just for entrepreneurs, but I term lucid entrepreneurship as anyone who wants to bring something new into creation. It could
I
be
love it.
relationship, could be with your finances, could be self-development, spiritual practice, whatever it is.
Health,
Um,
right? Health, weight
Health,
loss, everything.
exactly.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I think it is a powerful state to go into in the dream space because during the day, there's a lot going on, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
from laundry, husbands, spouses, kids, work, commercial, just the whole thing. It's never ending, right? It's just a never ending list of things we've got to do and keep track of. And so our dreams are, as I experienced when I was depressed, is that one space where you don't have commercials playing at you. You don't have someone else
You
telling
hope
you,
not.
you hope not. I hope not. Yeah, it's one of the only ones left. So
Yeah.
being out there, but there's not someone else saying, "Oh, you should do this. You should do this." It's just you and what I call God, right? Like connecting to that source within you
Me
from
too.
ideally a higher place where you're really looking into like what is going on for me right now. And a lot of the people I work with who want to, be financially free or just to be happy again, to have something that they wake up to being like, I'm excited for today, right? It comes from within. It doesn't come from looking at what someone else is doing and saying, oh, they're making
Yes.
money, they're doing this thing, I'm going to try that. It has to be from within you, and it comes from both ends of the spectrum. There's some entrepreneurs I work with who are on paper very successful, run multiple businesses, they've got the money in the bank, but
Yeah.
they didn't set up the dream in the way that they want to live the dream. They're then tied into this thing that they're like, well, now I spend all my time working on this, being on sales calls or whatever, and that's not what I wanted to be doing. Or they're the other end of the spectrum. They're like, I don't know what the dream is. I really want to figure out what it is I want to do that's going to get me to wake up and feel motivated and excited and on top of the world every day. But I don't
Have it
know
all.
where to begin. And the
Have it
dream
all
space is
in their mind.
for both of that. Yeah. Wherever you are on the spectrum, it's like it's a book of your life, right? Your dream journal is the best book you can ever read because it contains everything from your like deepest fears, anxieties, things way back from your childhood that maybe you didn't have the time or energy to process or capacity to look at.
Or
I
didn't
know,
want to unpack, maybe.
yeah, and
As I
that's
call it,
the
taking
case
the
for
cork off
me.
the genie's bottle.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard, right? Because you go through the school system or whatever it is, and then you got to just pick a job and go for it or whatever. But like, there's a ton of stuff that unfortunately our society is not built in this way, where they're like, we want to really help you do this well, because we're trained to not do that. But if you do it, you show up in a totally different way, and then you can go into the future projections and kind of the lucid dream is great for that as well, like getting a little bit of a taste of what is to come and really experiencing, if you're someone who's like, well, maybe I want to be an artist that lives in a 50th floor skyscraper apartment in New York, and I paint and look out my window and do all this. You can't try it, right? But in a lucid dream you can, and you can actually have that lived conscious experience of, here I am in my 50 floor skyscraper apartment in New York City painting, and you can experience consciously, this is what I feel like when I do that. And in the same way, if you were someone who's like, maybe I want to run retreats, you could experience, this is what it's like for me running a retreat for 10 people in the Bahamas. This is what it's like for me running a retreat for 1,000 people in Houston, Texas. Whatever it is, you get a little bit of a conscious taste. And so then you wake up and like, oh my God, that felt incredible. That's what I want to do. Or, oh my gosh, that was total nightmare. I definitely don't want to be doing something where I'm in front of 1,000 people during the day. Does that make sense?
It does, but okay, so then something else popped in my mind. So
Yeah.
say you try something that you've never tried before, but you've always dreamed that maybe it'd be something you like. How do you know how to craft and create that in the dream state? Do we access the collective experience by pulling in that, and you know what I'm saying? Like, because if you've never done it, how do you know you're going to do it well in that experience? Like you said, oh my God, no, I don't want to stand in front of 1,000 people. But did we create it the way that it's really going to look like in real life? Does that make
Right.
sense what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how do you
No,
know?
that's a great question. So for me, usually a dream comes as a series. So if I'm practicing something in a lucid dream, I usually don't just do it in one dream. I'll usually do it
Gotcha.
over a series of dreams so that in the same way that you would in the waking state, right? Like maybe you practice a speech one time and it doesn't
Mhm.
go perfect. You would rather do it like 10 times and then you get a good feel of like, okay, this really, you know, is for me, or I still totally suck. This is not my skill set at all. So it might be over a series, but I do think we just have an innate thing within us of when we have a deeply conscious experience, we get that feeling of either like, I'm kind of buzzing from this, or it's not really what I thought the experience was going to
I have
be.
so many questions. Like I'm thinking, like, have maybe we done this in a past life that, there's that men. Well, really thinking about it,
Yeah.
because in the dream state, the way I believe about dreams, maybe I'm wrong, but we can do and create and whatever we want can happen in a
Yeah.
dream state. And maybe
Yeah.
we've never done it in real life, but we could create what we believe it might look like, what it might feel like, and how, what try it on for size for is what I'm saying. But how do we know that we're creating it the way it would look like in real life? So to me, that's what was going through my mind. Like, maybe I always get
Mm.
these crazy thoughts, like my mind's going a million miles an hour here, thinking, okay, did we maybe do it in a previous lifetime? Is that, or are we pulling for, there's the collective consciousness or universal
Yeah.
consciousness? Are we pulling maybe from somebody's experience so that we know that the experience we're creating in the lucid
Yeah.
dream is, it's not going to
Right.
maybe necessarily look identical, but we're going to know what it feels like, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
that's where dream work gets insane, right? Because
Yeah.
and this is maybe taking a tangent, but I've also had dreams where it's like I'm a old Chinese man and I'm having this
Yeah.
experience where I'm like sitting on a park bench in this like Beijing market doing
Yeah.
something that's like a completely different timeline of my life, but I full on have
Yeah.
like a wife and kids and family and like all of this stuff. And so what does that mean? Right? Like, is that truly something that I'm
Savoring
practicing, or is that,
previous times, happy,
yeah,
peaceful times. Like I said, we can all come up with things, right? But the only person
yeah,
that really know is you,
yeah.
what that
So
means.
yeah, I think it's a great question. And I don't claim to be like, I know the definite answer of like, that's absolutely what it
I
is.
respect that. I respect that
Yeah,
rather than
I
somebody
don't.
saying, and the other thing I like that you said, not that I would ever say to somebody on my show, I always say I'd like to treat my guests like they were a guest in my home, and I leave it up to my listeners to decide. But the fact that you put that questionnaire out there, because how many times have we seen this? This is a pet peeve of mine. Maybe there's a
Mm,
message in it. When somebody does something, say weight loss.
yeah,
I'm not trying to lose weight right now, but I've always had to watch my weight, okay? And I will see people out there saying, "Well, if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it." That is such a load of crap.
yeah,
Everybody is an individual, and just because it worked for you, hey, I celebrate you. I'm happy for you, but I'm a completely different person than you, right down to
yeah,
my physiology and biochemistry, to where I live, for example.
yeah.
So the fact that you had, 30 different countries and over 100 responses, I think that that's a pretty good sampling from around the
In
world
the
to say,
first
like,
just
hey,
the
there's
first
something to
24 hours that
this.
was as well. So it's like it was insane to me to see how much of a global experience it was, which is what made me really excited about it. And part
Mhm.
of the reason I love working with people with their dreams is because I'm nothing to do with it. I can't be like, here's
Yeah.
my blueprint of what I did in my lucid dream and
Yeah.
then you go do it. Like obviously I can share some of my own personal experiences, but like
Mhm.
your dreams are going to do what your dreams are going to do. That's all
Mhm.
connected to you. I'm not going into your dreaming mind whilst you sleep and we do a session and then I hop in there and I'm orchestrating the whole thing, that
Thank
maybe in
God.
the future that will be
Division's
fun.
a Minority Report.
Right? But it's
Yeah.
you and you. Like I said, you're the doctor and the patient at the same time. You're the teacher and the student, which I think is so cool, so empowering for someone to do, because it's like, and a lot of my students will say things like this where they're like, I feel like I'm cheating because they're an artist and they have a lucid dream and they see the masterpiece that they want to create, right?
Okay.
But it's just there for them, and then they wake up and they have it, or they came up with an idea or an invention and they wake up and they're like, but was that me? Like, I isn't that
It's
cheating?
kind of
Because
like what
then,
I asked you. Like, where did
yeah,
it come from, right? Like,
right,
you know what I get it. Like, I hope the
yeah,
listeners get it too. It's like,
yeah,
where did it come from? And then basically, it's like you reach up into the ethers of where you had that dream and you pull it down and bring it into reality.
right, right. And it happens while you sleep. It's like manifestation whilst you sleep, and I think it's so
Exactly.
cool. I do not know how it works or why it works that way or any of that, but I think it's just one of those deep experiences that we all have access to, and we all have to sleep.
Hmm.
Fair, some of us less than others, some of us
True.
much more than others, but you can't get
Mhm.
away from it. Like, you will die if you don't sleep. So you may as
Absolutely.
well use that time to
Sure.
your own benefit. You either have a powerful dream or whatever dreams that you're having, and you wake up and you use them to benefit you, or
Okay.
don't do anything with them. And then nothing
Well,
changes.
that's true too, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I've seen other people talk about this, and I like the way you're talking about this, in the fact that it doesn't sound like you've got this rubber stamp that you're putting out there. You're going to do steps 1 through 10, and this is going to why you're going to do it, and this way you're going to do it, or marketing it, if you will, that make the most of. And I think I even actually alluded to it earlier, was
Mm,
that you're sleeping. Like, there are people out there that will say, "Why do I have to sleep? Like, it's a wasted 8 times," not realizing like you said, you can die if you don't sleep. Never
yeah.
mind the restorative properties. We need to sleep as human beings. But
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of like multitasking. But like I said, the way I've seen it marketed is, it almost sounds like you're running a marathon in your sleep. That, like, you're just running nonstop 24 hours a day. You never get a rest. And I don't feel
No,
that way with what you're
yeah.
sharing here.
I really
Hmm.
like that you said that as well, because, some of my most potent, profound lucid dreams have been when I was in the depths of running my business.
Hmm.
I was burning out, I was tired, and I would induce a lucid dream. And some of my favorites have been lucid dreams where I was
Hmm.
like in the middle of the ocean, laying on top of a whale, like with the sun beaming down on
Okay.
me, and just feeling like the waves and this ocean water and just ecstasy running through my body. And it was just pure rest, rejuvenation, conscious relaxation. Lucid dreams don't have to be like, I've got 8 additional hours tonight to be proactive and like work on this. Like, for sure, that can be part of it, but it can also just
Hmm.
be like deep healing, deep relaxation. Maybe you don't have the time or the money or the resources to go to Hawaii next week. So why not have a lucid dream tonight where you literally go there for free and do whatever you want? Like, why would you not want to do that? So I think that's one of the amazing parts of it as well, is like, if there is something where you're like, oh, I just really want to catch a break, or I could really do with a vacation, during COVID, it was amazing for me because I could still travel. And I was saying that to my friends. I was like,
I'm just
where's your
what
mind?
happened to the light? I'm just gonna turn it on.
Oh,
I'm
go.
right here. So, yeah, exactly. Like, that would have been a perfect time for people to really look into stuff like lucid dreaming during COVID. I didn't
Yeah.
notice any difference in COVID. Not that I was being, I wasn't being insensitive, but with
Mhm.
hurting my back and having, I don't always get out. But so I've created a life, if you will, to remain active and do what I'm
Mhm.
more busy now than when I was working full time as a community living, visiting nurse, teaching a nursing course I developed, and then working still casual in the NICU.
Amazing.
Because I think life is what we make it, right? And what we
Mhm.
dream, what we want things to look like. So
Totally.
I do want to say hi. Just one sec here. We've got Dave. He says hi. Michael was on this show recently. Michael, I'm giving you a shout out. I talked to our mutual friend last night. Holy cow. Michael strikes again, I'll tell you. You were absolutely right. We have so much in common. It was mind blowing. I had to throw that out there. So
Yay.
he says, Michelle says, have your cake and dream about it too. I like that.
That's great.
Michael says, maybe when you are in a dream state, our filter becomes wider. That's an interesting question. So, or
Mm.
comment, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think for me, it's like that space where, and you mentioned it, Lorilei, where we're connected to maybe the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things for me was um, dreams with the deceased, lucid dreams with the deceased. So I had a
Oh, let's
series
talk
of
about that,
dreams.
please. Let's
Yeah,
talk about that for a minute. Yeah.
I had a really potent lucid dream when my nana passed. I didn't know that she had passed. She was getting sick. She was in the UK. I was here in the US. And I had this really powerful lucid dream with her where I was like walking down the street. I see her in a window and she's young. She's like in her she maybe her
Mhm.
40s, kind of, which
Yeah.
obviously I didn't know her when she was that age. And
I'm not
I see her and
surprised.
I know it's her. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh. And I open up the window, run inside into the apartment. And I know we're in a lucid dream because she wouldn't be there. And so I'm saying to her, I'm like, Nana, let's like talk about some cool stuff, or let's like we could go flying, we could do something like that.
Yeah.
And she starts saying to me, no, I just want to make you a sandwich, I'm going to make you a cup of tea, like you sit down, I'm doing this. And I have no control over her whatsoever, which I think is a common misconception of lucid dreams, where it's like you're in control of absolutely everything. I think it's more of a co-creation. Again, don't know how that works.
Okay.
But she's running around this little kitchenette. She's making me a sandwich, making me a cup of tea. And she just keeps saying, it's so good not to be in any pain anymore. It's so good to be able to just walk around and do whatever I want. Like, this is all I want to do. I just want us to spend time together. And it's so good to not be in pain anymore. She keeps saying this. And basically, that was kind of the dream. I share it like in depth. I made like a 30-minute YouTube video about it. But
Ah.
I wake up from that lucid dream, and it was just like a really good feeling, right? Because I was with my nana and I hadn't seen her for a little while. And then I get a call at 2 p.m. coming through from my dad. Can see it on my phone. And I look at my husband because I told him about the lucid dream I had that morning. And I was like, I reckon she passed. And that's why she was in my dream space. And I answered the call. My dad told me she passed
Sorry.
about around that time. I mean, she was into her like almost 90. She had a great life. But
Mhm.
I told him the dream that I had. Obviously, I was like, let me tell you this lucid dream that I had last night. And my dad starts crying, and I asked him like why he was upset, and he was saying, we didn't want to tell you because you're in the US and we didn't want to worry you or anything, but the last couple of days she was just saying like, I'm in so much pain, like I just can't
Aw.
bear it anymore. I didn't know that because they didn't want to worry me or anything, you know. But he was
It's
saying,
the worst feeling when you can't be there. And,
yeah,
you know, our minds create things that we can't see if we're not there. For example, someone very close to me lived in Toronto, which is, I think, 22 hours away by car from where we are.
Mm.
And his father passed, and he was so extremely close to his father. And he
Mm.
had nightmares for years about what had happened versus
Mm.
really what had happened. So I could see why your parents did
Yeah.
that. To
I
spare
think,
you any worry or concern in the way of
yeah.
God.
But, yeah, and it isn't nice to know someone's in pain or anything like that, but
No,
I
it's
just thought that
painful.
was so interesting that in my dream, I had no reason to think, like, why she wouldn't be in pain or anything, but the fact that she kept saying it, and when I told my dad, he was like, she had been in a lot of pain, and I think it gave him a lot of comfort to hear me sharing.
Yeah.
She was saying she wasn't in pain anymore.
Because you had
Um,
relevance after, you know what I mean? Like now when you put the pieces together and maybe your Nana told you so that she knew the bigger
yeah.
picture you would share this with her dad or with her
Yeah,
son, your
yeah,
dad and the people that were around her. Now, the
exactly.
interesting thing when you told me what she looked like, working
Yeah.
as a medium, I don't always see people. But it's been my experience that people show up from the other side, as I call it, home. They show
Yeah.
up looking how they loved how they felt the best in their
Oh, I
living
love
lifetime or their
that.
last lifetime, like how they felt maybe really confident or beautiful, or we've all had those times in our life where we know,
Yeah,
hey, I'm the bomb, if you will. They don't come across and say that, but you know what I mean. Like you just feel so awesome, right? The best you've
yeah,
ever felt. That's how
yeah.
they usually appear.
That makes
So
so
what?
much sense to me because she did look amazing, and I had
Yeah,
never seen her like that. Like,
yeah,
I was used to her being my 80-something-year-old nana for,
yeah.
so it was really interesting that it was like that, and I never thought about it, but I'm really glad you said that. That makes me feel
And to let
great.
you know that she was okay, and, like, you might not maybe have understood, like, "Why are you telling me you're not in pain?" But she
Mhm.
gave you kind of, if you will, living proof, like, "Look at how great I look," and kept repeating it, and obviously there was a reason because
Yeah.
just imagine what a relief and how healing it was, like you said, when you had that conversation with your dad, and what a
Right.
beautiful story to share. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. I really appreciate it
Yeah.
because I think that's gonna help a lot of people, Lana, because when we, and I won't stay with this too long, but when we lose something, anything, but especially a loved one, right? Grieving is a natural process. There's no timetable, but we also know within energy, like attracts like energy. And
Yep.
so when we're grieving, our energy is very low. And say we're going to connect with the other side, they're on a higher energy plane. I hope this makes sense to people. So the place where I find is easiest for us to connect with our loved ones is in the dream state. So I'm so glad
I
because
agree.
lucid dreaming could be very healing for people that have, if you will, unfinished business or they weren't there when their loved one passed. So how could they
Yeah.
use lucid dreaming? I won't stay with this. I just wanted to throw it in there.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I used it as well when my cat passed away suddenly, and a lot of our fur family are our babies, right? And for me, it was a big shock. I wasn't expecting her to pass. She had a seizure, and
Oh, I'm
so and I was much younger and it was really sudden. I saw, the light go out of her eyes and I felt like I hadn't said goodbye. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just one minute she was alive, the next minute she wasn't. And I spent about 2 weeks after that having lucid dream every single night and just playing with her. And we would just
oh,
play and I would hug her. And the amazing thing in the lucid dream space was I got to talk to her. Because, like I was saying to you, how, you have that telepathic communication going on. And there was some really funny stories shared between us where I was asking her, like, so what was your favorite day that we had together? Which was a
oh,
question I obviously never got to ask my cat in the
yeah.
normal waking state. And she would tell me about these experiences that we had that were things that I had never thought of before that. Right. So I found that really interesting where it was like, able to gain information that, or like access to a memory that I didn't have before that dream. So I thought that was interesting. And I feel like that was a really great way to grieve, where after maybe 2 weeks of having those dreams with her, I had that moment in my lucid dream space where I was like, okay, we spent time together, we were happy together, I'm ready to let you go, but you're welcome to be with me anytime in this space. And I could fully let it go, and process the entire experience. And sometimes she'll still show up in my dream space now, which is always
Mhm.
nice. But I do think, especially in the West, it's not, we don't have that deep relationship with like the
Mm-mm.
proper way to grieve or how to process it, or we're not really supposed to talk about it all that much, or we kind of just shove
Or
it
people think
down.
there's a timetable, like, and I don't think people are naturally trying to be insensitive. I've
No.
worked a lot in palliative care, and I'm very, very passionate about end of life care,
Mhm.
um, about grieving, and when you'll hear people say, "Well, it's been so many years, like, don't you think you should be over it?" And again, I don't think people are coming from a state of being mean about it. They just don't understand it, that grief is a natural process, but it's individual for everybody. And
Mhm.
sometimes you never ever really ever get over. It's almost the grief. It's like a new type of normal starts to grow around. I seen this really great illustration of it. Looked like a ball of just squiggly energy, if you will, that they
Mm.
represented the grief. And then as time went on, they called it a new state of normal, started growing around it. But there was
Mhm.
always that space there,
Yeah.
because you just gave me
Yeah.
a great idea, and I have to thank you. Like I said, I've been sharing
Okay.
more and more about myself. I never hid things, but it just didn't come up. But I have my kitty who has decided to keep marking on my son with severe autism, his bed. Every time he leaves, she goes and leaves a little mark on there. And I've been thinking, how am I going to get through to you? My eldest other son does communicate with animals
Ah,
and may be able to go there. And I'm thinking, do I need to find an animal communicator? You just gave me a great idea, that I'm wondering if we could meet in the dream space. And this just doesn't
yes.
apply to a cat. How do we co-create with others? Like, how do I ask my cat, if you will, or maybe it's another individual,
Yeah.
somebody listening, how do we meet up in the dream space?
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of different techniques. For me, one that works really well is doors, because it gives our brain a chance to kind of tune in and process. So literally as simple as standing in front of a door, like wherever you are in the dream. And a lot of times we're in buildings or places, right? Or if you're not by a door, you can just turn around. But it's like the door kind of gives your mind,
It's just setting
I
the
don't know, it works
intention then
well.
that that's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Standing in front of the door and saying, like, when I open this door, this person will be behind it, or my cat will be behind
Okay,
it, or whatever. Simple as,
okay.
and opening it to do that. Or, like I said, the other way is just when I turn around, I will see whoever is standing behind me, and you turn around and there they are. Those are just two really simple techniques for that I think would work for you really well.
I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you. I want to
Yeah.
say hi to Dave Petrella. He's a supporter of our show. He's been on here
Yeah.
before. I said hi to Debbie. If I missed anybody, please say hi. Let me know you're here. And if you're listening and you want to watch, come on over to UFO Paranormal Radio's Facebook page or YouTube channel, and we'll be able to see your comments and have you be part of the conversation. I just want to see this. Michelle said, I have read you can't see your hands when you dream. Is this true? I I I
No.
don't I don't think it's true. No, no, I don't
You
think
should,
so.
well, I mean,
Interesting
there's
question.
different dreams, right? Like going back to your question at the beginning about astral projection, a lot of the times where I've had astral projections, not lucid dreams, I don't have a physical body. And so, yes, in those cases, there are times where maybe if you astral project, you don't have a physical form and you're more like an energy. But most times in lucid dreams, it's like everything looks exactly like what it looks like right now. Real and oftentimes even more HD, like high definition kind of vision. So it looks, people describe it realer than real, if that makes sense. Kind of like if you use a psychedelic and everything is very heightened. I think a lot of people experience it that way. Oh, oh no. It's Lorilei frozen.
I am so sorry. Our internet cut out. I've never had that happen. So I'm on my phone, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries.
My
I was
son just
worried
came
I
in.
did something.
Yeah, our internet just cut out. I thought, oh my God, did I, like, what went on? There's no internet. I've never had that happen.
The powers that be don't want this going out.
Well, go ahead. And I'm sorry. So I apologize. I'm moving. Thank God I have StreamYard on a couple different devices. So we'll finish the show out on my phone unless the internet, I can't even go downstairs and fix the internet because the router's downstairs. So we'll have to do it again, guys. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying, Lana, that I so rudely interrupted?
What were we saying?
Sorry, I'm plugged in. I'll go over here. There we go. You're probably sitting there going, where the heck is the host?
No. Yeah, I was worried I did something. I was like,
no, you did not do anything. Like I said, I've never done a show like this. Okay, am I in the right way? Good thing I had my ring light set up because I used it as extra light. This is crazy, guys. We've never had this happen. Like I've been podcasting for 8-9 years. Never had this happen.
Oh, well, I feel special.
You are special. Like, I think you're right. Maybe they don't want this information out there.
I mean, it goes back to what you were saying before, right? Like, why don't people know about this? Like, why is this not breaking news? And I think that's like one of obviously the mission I'm on is to share this with as many people who can benefit as possible. But also, I do think it's a very powerful tool to have in your tool belt. I think it wakes you up, and I think it gets you on that path of wanting to, live your best life and overcome any potential blockages and be a really powerful person. So, yeah, unfortunately, the way our world is built up is not designed to create us as the most powerful versions of ourselves that we can be, at least usually not in the beginning stages. So I do think that this is something that's it's not mainstream. It's not something that most people are tapping into, but I'm very grateful that there are people like yourself and the listeners who are like ready to make the most of it and, even share it with other people who can benefit. Like if you know someone who passed or someone who needs to grieve or someone who wants to use this for depression, anxiety, whatever it is, I have hope that it can be very useful for a lot of people.
Sorry, I was letting my son know people have seen him. That's what happens with live broadcasts, guys. He's standing here. I'm listening to you, and I'm mentally sending him a message, honey. I'm live. Off you go. So I just saw the Wi-Fi signal come back on. So I just tapped him as you're talking. I'm going like this with thumbs up, like no. That's what happens when you're a mom and a pet mom. And my son's going to be 25 in March. Most people know him. He usually doesn't come in, but he's got severe autism. So the internet is his whole world. But on to what I wanted to ask you, because I know you've kind of transitioned from not so much working on a one-to-one basis, but with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I just happened to take a peek because I said I don't always look at things that people send me. But I think this is important to talk about is what are some of the success stories that you have worked with individuals or businesses, and why would people that are entrepreneurs want to use this, or like,
Mhm.
where did they start? The whole bit. I'm going to grab my drink. It's behind me. Sorry, I don't
Yeah,
usually
for
move around.
sure. Well, there's lots of different success stories, and that's the cool thing again about dream work is like it's very focused on you and who you are. So, I've worked with a lot of people who, or a lot of students who they're in a 9 to 5 that they're, okay with, or they've just been doing that, or they kind of like graduated. That was the thing they went into. But then a couple of years down the line realized like maybe this is not it, or it's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be something more for me, or that they had a dream on their heart that they really wanted to go into. So, one of my students this past year, she was working a 9 to 5 in a cafe. She was getting by, it was fine. And when we started working together, I asked her, like, what is it that you really want to do? Like, if you could do anything. And I think that's the kind of cool thing with lucid dreaming is one of the initial questions is like, all right, if you could have a lucid dream tonight where there's no financial blockages, time blockages, you're not even bound by space time, right? Like you could be in the future, you could be in the past, you could be a dolphin for the night if you really wanted,
Yeah.
right? Nothing is blocking
No
you,
limits.
no limits. What do you want to do? Like, what do you spend that time doing? And she said she really wanted to do music. She's like, that's my true passion. I haven't gone into it. I know I want to do it. And so we started talking about why she hadn't. And there was a lot of things in connection to, family and needing to heal and confidence and all these kinds of things. And so we used her lucid dream space a lot for that, for like really resolving a lot of those things that she felt was kind of compacting her inwards. Fast forward to today, she's booked her first tour. She's been given $10,000 grant to like record her first music video. She's putting together an album. She's gone full time as a musician, as an artist. So, and that's all happened within the span of under a year, which is insane. I think it's like a complete.
I can see why you've gone to this, because like working with entrepreneurs and, not just necessarily say spiritual wise, but as I always call it lovingly, but jokingly, we'll have people on that say aren't doing what you're doing full time. They're doing it part time, but that's their passion. They come on the show, they talk about, maybe it's a book, right? But I always jokingly say, and their muggle job is, meaning they're doing what they do to pay the bills. It doesn't mean that they necessarily like it, but where I find that this would be so huge, and we all run into people like this regardless of walk of life, they know that what they love to do, say we'll take the musician for example, many excuses for and many valid reasons why they felt they couldn't do this full time. But I meet so many people that say, how will I know when's the right time to lose the muggle job, jump in with both feet, and know that I'm going to be able to cover, say, my bills and what have you, right? Thanks,
Yeah.
Michelle. Take care. She's heading out to, I think it's morning over there in Australia. I think it's Tuesday morning. So she usually listens to the show when she's getting ready for work. So thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, exactly. And the great part about it is you kind of get to do some of that process whilst you're sleeping, right? And so if you were writing a book is a great example. If you're writing a book or you want to write a book, to do that in the waking state, you need to put aside time. And maybe you put aside an hour a day, maybe it's 30 minutes a day alongside your muggle job. I love that term. So
I can't take credit for it from Harry Potter. Well,
Yes,
Muggle is, not Muggle Job.
have that time, but maybe some of that time is like you just got writer's block for the 30 minutes, and maybe it's like that for a week straight. If you're doing that work in the lucid dream state, firstly, there's different parts of your brain communicating whilst you're in a lucid dream than to when you're awake. And that's where the term like sleep on it comes from, because you're much more likely to find a solution. You're in an altered state of consciousness. So your brain is acting differently, which is why if you take a problem and then you sleep on it, you dream on it, you often find a solution because you can see things differently. But that way, rather than spending months and months putting together a book proposal, maybe you have a single dream where you come up with the entire sphere of what the book is like, and then you wake up and you already have it. So it really saves you a lot of time, a lot of energy. And if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be a startup entrepreneur, you can use that extra time while you're sleeping to have those downloads, and then you've just got it ready to go, which is the same thing that happened to me with my business in 2020, where I really wanted to know, what's the next steps I needed to take? How do I put together this course? And in a single dream, had the download come through, saw everything completely lined up for me, finished product. And so I woke up and just reverse engineered the whole thing.
Now you know why people sometimes feel like they're cheating, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But, it works that way. And so rather than spending 6 months trying to find here and there a little bit of spare time to put together a book or a course or whatever it is, why would you not just have that solid time whilst you sleep to see the full flourished product, so to say, in creation? And then that way, when you wake up, you've already seen it, you've already tasted it, so you can just put it together.
You have given me, oh my God, my mind is going in a million different directions because you've talked about so many things that I have like all these irons in the fire. But I often say there's not enough. I often wish there was 48 hours in a 24-hour period, because I'm writing 3 books. I'm working on a course with a friend that she's been trying to get a hold of me, and I've been so busy. She has much more time. And there's so many things you have just said here that I could say that I could see using this. And I'm just mentioning this off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
So imagine what people could look like. Like where I'm even thinking is people that, like you said, your spelling tests, like you aced your school, like you use it for schooling. You're a professional athlete. You've got a competition coming up. Not even a professional athlete, anything, right? You could use this for anything.
Anything that's rehearsal, right? So like for me, when I did speeches, like I was doing speeches at conference when I published my research. I was a terrible speaker. I'd never been on.
I can't see that.
Seriously, and I was very, very introverted, and so I was like, well, I would love to practice this, but it's different practicing, just reading it to yourself versus being on a stage, being in front of people doing it. So I did it in my lucid dreams. Walk out on stage, people there, read it through. And then I'd done that multiple times before going to do it on stage. So it was like I'd done it, and the same neural connections were being made in my brain as if I had actually done that day. And so your lucid dream is not just a visualization of it happening. The same connections are being made as if you had actually done that. And so in the same way, can be used for skill enhancement, can be used if you want to overcome a fear of something, like scared of spiders. Well, you could try touching a spider whilst you're awake, or would you rather try touching a spider when you know it's a dream spider, and if you get freaked out, you can just, click your fingers and it's gone? Like
That
that's
really,
much
again, I'm not a big Harry
easier.
Potter fan, but I keep thinking about that. I think it was the one with the third one where they were in the Defense Against the Dark Arts, and the werewolf teacher, Dr. Remus Lupin, I think, and he got them all to face their greatest fear with a
Yeah.
boggart, I think it was. That's almost what it makes me think of,
It
right?
is kind of like that, right? And it's like when you know it's a dream, it's different because you can go out on stage and you know it's a dream audience, it's a dream stage. I can make a mistake. I can read the same line 20 different times. I can rehearse it and repeat it and do that. And that's just different. It's a different level of experience. Confidence comes from repetition, right? And trying it again. But it's different being like, okay, well, now I've done 10 conferences, so I'm a little bit more ahead versus I just did 10 in my sleep last night. Like now I'm ahead, which was exactly the same for me in school. You know, when I was living in Japan, I would come into school and I was top of my class. I would beat all these Chinese kids who were in my class learning Japanese. We'd take a Japanese kanji test, the Chinese characters. You would think that the little white girl would not be able to beat Chinese kids in a kanji test. Well, I was top of the class every time. And all these kids were like, how are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing it in my sleep. That's literally what I'm doing. And they were like, what? Like, I don't get it. Yeah, because I had more time to practice. I was able to do it. And the same with languages, right? Like I was speaking in Japanese in my sleep to dream characters where I had more confidence to practice, to speak, to try stuff because I knew it was my dream, which is different to going to the convenience store in the waking state and speaking something and feeling like an idiot because you say something weird to someone you don't know. So it was a very different way of skill enhancement. All of that was totally different.
Well, Japanese isn't easy to learn. I speak French and some Spanish, and a lot of the other languages that originated from Latin fit in very nicely, like Portuguese, Italian, because they all have sort of a lot of the same roots, right? But Japanese is one of those difficult ones, like Chinese with many dialects. The reason why I know my ex-husband was Japanese and his mother, and so my kids are half, my aunt on my mom's side also married a man from Japan too. So yeah. So
that's a cool connection.
Yeah, I know.
You know how the language works a little bit as well, I guess.
I just said the word kanji. Actually, I forget who I said it to. That's why when you said it, I was nodding because I'm going, oh, wow, I haven't used that word in forever. And I just said it the other day, like 2 days ago, I think, to somebody.
Oh, weird synchronicity.
Yeah, Debbie writes in the comments, boggarts. She said, I love the Harry Potter movies so much. Well, I have to say, I'm trying not to get off topic here, but very quickly, that I think it's like most things with a movie. The movies, if you haven't read the book, are amazing. But once you read the book that they're based on, yeah, I know they have to leave a lot out, but the books are amazing.
I'm a big fan of them. I went to the Harry Potter world when I went back to the UK just before COVID, and it was epic. I loved it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a place I would love to go in my dream state. Like I am so fascinated by this stuff because I never have believed, just because I may not remember my dreams, that I don't have them. Because like I said, I do have spirit wake me up. I connect with a couple of friends that are clairvoyant mediums as well, and spirit gives us some information on certain things, and it looks like we're putting a puzzle together, but they will, and sometimes we will have a co-dream, almost like I will have one and then either both will have one the same or very similar, and then but they'll wake us up and tell us you need to write this down. We don't know what it means, and eventually plays out. Sorry, you were nodding. What were you going to say about the co-dream?
Yeah, shared dreams it's another like phenomenon that, again, like I don't claim to know exactly how it works, but it's one of those things that is experienced by so many people, where it's just like this is clearly something that we have access to that we don't really talk about, or we don't really say, you know, to people. Like, it can be weird to say to people like, well, I had this dream and my friend had this dream as well, and we were both in there at the same place, received the same information. And similarly, you know, I have a lot of people who approach me and will say, I had a lucid dream, and I screenshotted a thing off Facebook recently that someone messaged me, just tagged me saying, I had a lucid dream and your business card literally printed out of a printer. He's like, are you advertising in the lucid dream space? And I was like, no, but you know, that makes sense to me that it works that way, because he was asking for someone to guide him with dream work, and clicked a button on the printer, and that's what printed out. And he was like, so I looked you up on Facebook and this is what you do. So I'd love to, you know, work together. And I think
that's incredible.
Dream work should work like that, theoretically, right? Like, it does connect us to particular people. And like you were saying in your precognitive dream or prophetic dream, that, you know, you were given the name and you know those things. And I've also had dreams like that as well. And so seemingly we do have access to more than we had before we went to sleep, right? Like, where you can have a dream, you can write it down, we can timestamp stuff and see that these things were happening at the same time with two different people. And so much of that I feel like is not talked about,
explored and talked about, because I like, this is the reason why I said at the beginning of the show that we're not there's so many things that I hope I live to see the day where, you know, meditation is the mainstay, that, you know, babies are, I mean, it's started right at the beginning. There's, you know, watch YouTube. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I'm creating, I have to be creating when I'm meditating or doing something. Like, I understand about having a dream, whether it is lucid or not. And I believe that I have probably had lucid dreams creating something, because I'll wake up in the morning and then I create it, because I love resin. That's one of my big things, and sculpting and what have you. So I definitely believe that that kind of stuff can happen. So I got distracted. I was reading Debbie's comment. Where were we for a minute there? I was reading, she said, we're talking about going to the one here at Universal Studios in Orlando. She was talking about Harry Potter. Still, I got distracted. But what did you say just before I said about the creating? I know there was something I was going to add to that, why I brought that up. Probably just about that I would know what I was going to make, like, just from the dream. I would move it forward and then create it in the morning. So like I said, this is such a useful skill for people. That imagine the businesses that people would be out of money. Like, if you could heal yourself, if you could figure out with mental health many of the issues, if you could create whatever you decided to try on and say, yeah, this is a good fit, no, it's not a good fit, instead of just jumping in and thinking, geez, maybe I want to go to school for this. And then you get done, including my eldest son, and going, I hate what I just went to school for. There's so many things, right?
Yeah. I think it saves a lot of time, energy, processing, you know, like all of that. It's just a very deep space to do that in. And especially without, like I was saying before, without outside influence, where, you know, it can be really hard to say something, I think I want to go back to school, and then your mom says one thing, your cousin says another thing, your sister says another thing, your best friend says another thing, and you've got all these opinions and people telling you what they think, versus being able to just be you and God, you and source, and asking and processing for yourself, okay, like, these are my options, this is how this feels, this is how this might turn out, and to like really consciously experience that, versus it just being kind of a jumbled visualization that you get a spare 10 minutes a day to think a little bit about, and then you're like, I got to do the laundry now, you know. So and it is hard, right? Like, we don't get to the end of a work day. We would love to get to the end of the work day and say, I'm going to do a 2-hour meditation now and then go to bed. Like, I would love to be able to do that every single day. But the truth is, it's I don't. I can't. I don't have time for it, right? We say those things, but I can do it with a lucid dreaming practice. And there's lots of nights where I would have loved to do yoga at the end of the day. I would have loved to do a painting. I would have loved to meditate. And I didn't have time after my work day and dinner and everything else. But then I can go in the dream space and do those things that I know benefits me, and I wake up with that benefit. So even if it's not for business, health, any of that, even if it's just for deep self-care and the extra time to do that deep self-care or meditation or yoga or painting, I think that's a really important place to start with it. It's like more time to have fun, more time for you, more time for self-care. We could all use a bit of that.
Well, I agree. Plus, I think you said something really important before my naughty internet decided to play up. Gremlins here, we'll call it. But is that it still creates like almost the neural pathways and the neurochemicals and what have you. So you're still getting the same benefits. We are almost out of time, and I still have some things I want to ask you because you got big things coming up. Like how do people sign up? Like with your, I'll tell. Like I told you before, we'll have a few minutes at the end for people to know where to find you. But I think you're looking for people. I think you've got a course. If I remember, I was using my phone as my guideline here. So of course you've got something very warm coming up that they're going to get people to come together. Let's talk about all that stuff for a few minutes.
Yeah. So, it's been the pandemic and everything else. And I originally had a retreat that I was doing in Boulder, Colorado. And we did that earlier this year. It was postponed for 2 years, which is insane. And we finally got to do it. And I realized that it's such a different energy to do this work in person and in a space that's not your home. There are so many breakthroughs that come through from being with like-minded people who are, aiming at the same trajectory, and like being in a powerful container, or like I like to call it kind of an incubator. So this year, I'm co-hosting a Lucid Dreaming and Human Design retreat with my partner, Carrie Ann. It's going to be in Hawaii, in Oahu, which is such a vortex place of itself where, you could go there and do nothing and you would have a breakthrough, I feel like, just because of the island energy. But we wanted to create this space, this container, this incubator where people can get a week out to really do a deep dive into creating something new, like enhancing the dream, expanding the dream with human design, using their actual charts during the day, and then lucid dreaming during the night, and lots of fun and epicness in between that as well, of course, in that location. But that can be, we just launched it, so you can sign up to apply at revelation2023.com. There's a big apply button, and the application goes through some more details of kind of what we're including in the retreat as well. But it is small, it's intimate. So, we really want to do that deep work with people who are ready to kind of take this year in their life to the next level for themselves and really do everything that I've talked about in here, which is like, I want to up-level my life, happiness, wealth, abundantly manifest, everything that their dreams are calling on their heart. So that's kind of the concept for that.
I love it. So, okay, so somebody's listening to this and they're going, oh my gosh, this sounds like the answer to all my, whether it's prayers, what I've been hoping to manifest, and maybe the law of attraction isn't quite working the way I want it to, whatever. Where do they go from here? What what can you help them with, or where can you, like, I know you have your partner Carrie, that's why I smile, because I haven't connected with her yet,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I will. But yeah, so what can people do? They want to reach out to you. They've heard this show. This sounds amazing. So what do they do? Where do they go from here with this?
If the retreat's calling you and you're like, I need to be there, apply ASAP, because it will fill. Revelation2023.com. If you have questions, you can reach out to me on my website, which is my name, LanaSackwild.com, or my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it. It's just Lana Sackwild, YouTube. Find me on any of your preferred
But
platforms.
before we go, though, I want to ask you, like, say somebody's never heard lucid dreaming before, but the way we've talked, but they go, yeah, I think that's happened before, or, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What do they do? I know you've got some free resources, but like, say they want to start, like maybe they're not ready to quite go, or maybe it gets filled up because we know it's going to. I know you've already gone into the dream state and seen where it's going, and it's going to be successful and amazing. But somebody that's new to this, where do they start? Where do they go? They want to work with you maybe, or find out more about, how to get where to that point.
Via my website, I have a ton of free resources for like how to start up a dream journal specifically for lucid dreaming. I've got some master classes on there and things like that, where it's like you can kind of get a little bit of a taste of the experience, or you can sign up for any of the courses that I'm running at the moment. The easiest place where everything is my website, but I also just love to talk with people personally to really find out like where is the best place for you to start, because I have totally free resources to like paid masterclass. It depends kind of on your level and what you're looking for in your style. So I would say send me a message on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me know like what's your experience, what are you looking for, and that way I can maybe send you more of a personalized resource that would be helpful for where you're at. But if not, my YouTube is an abundance of here's how to set up for your first lucid dream, your journal, and all of those are free. So please go watch them.
I'm so glad that you came on. I hope you come back again, because like I said, you can see there's a lot of interest. Like I said before, my naughty internet decided to act up, because Debbie said said have a great night, have to go get dinner. I think people thought, oh my God, they're gone. Like this never happened before. That's it. But people will see this on the replay. So I hope you come back on again. We can talk in more in depth. And
thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that you came on. So you guys, I want to remind you that I will be back here. I'm holding, I don't usually start right at 10 to, I usually wait a few minutes, but I'm thinking, please internet hold out. I don't know what's going on, why it cut out. That is crazy, but it did. But I want to remind you guys, I'll be back here Thursday with David Hansel, my co-host, with the thing at the foot of the bed. Just depends what we kind of run across during the week, what kind of things we're going to talk about. I will tell you though, with all the balloony type stuff we've been seeing and what have you, we talked a bit about that last week, but I will tell you, I sent a whack of video clips to Dave to take a look at. So now if I can just find the right, video converter. I know what format you need to upload to StreamYard, but it does not like the MP4 converter that I've been using, because I'd love to share them with you. Next week, I will tell you that I'm going to read some comments that I am having a very exciting guest on as well next week. Some of you may know her, Lorian Fenton. She's a friend of mine. She works with MUFON, UFOs, all kinds of things. She's got a big conference coming up. I believe it starts on St. Patrick's Day in March up in San Diego. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of things next week on the Angel Rock, same space, same time. Michael de Blasi says, thank you. What an interesting conversation. I agree. Thank you, Lana.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Let's remind them again where they can find you. I know some people may have just tuned back in, see if we're still live, whatever, and then I'll let them know where to find me.
Yes. My website, LanaSackwild.com. For the retreat, Revelation2023.com. or on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Lana.
Oh, you forgot TikTok. I'll have to, I think I added you, but I'm not sure. I'll have to add you if I haven't on TikTok.
Yeah, go find my TikTok. I got a little bit of different content on all of my platforms. So whatever your heart desires, whether it's long format YouTube or my weird dancing TikTok minute long content with some tips. I've got a whole playlist of lucid dreaming tips and techniques on there. So if you wanted to like learn 10 of them tonight and just swipe through, I definitely recommend that.
I am, because like I said, I wanted to do this for a very long time. Like I said, my partner, he can do it. I forgot to mention he has a delicious recipe on Thursdays right after me. I don't know who his guest is this week, but he's on the hour after David and I are. He's always been able to do it. Always. And then he will tell me about his dreams, and like he'll just wake up and then he'll decide, yeah, I'm going to go back in that dream again. It was very strange when I changed a few things while I was in the dream, and I want to figure out why this happened and maybe try it on a different, like he definitely is a lucid dreamer. Yeah, definitely.
You should get him to awaken you. Like one of the things I use partner assisted lucidity, where if I have a lucid dream, I'll tell my husband in the dream that we're dreaming, or if he has one, he can tell me. Whisper it through.
It doesn't matter if I want to hear it or not. He tells me, and I always marvel at the detail he remembers, and the like. There are some strange things. I don't mean like in a bad way, but very strange. And he'll know what it means. Like he'll know what the symbology of, like I was in high school, I was back in the desk that I used to sit in, and then I was with all my friends, but we were at this place and it was like all these rooms. Like he can just go into so much detail. Yeah. So he'll wake up. Why did you wake me up? I was in such a good dream. Oh, no, man, I'll just go right back to it. And then he does.
Yeah, it's amazing how much can come out of even like a line of a dream, and the detail and the memories that are connected to it and all of that. So I'm excited for you guys to talk dreams together. I think it's such a great way to connect as a family.
We have many a very intriguing conversation that most I've found through the years most couples may not have a conversation about. I've had many people say, oh God, to be a fly on the wall in your house, because I never thought we'd ever talk about fairies. Let's put it that way. And he actually believes in the little people, not leprechauns, little people. He is Métis, my partner Del, so half First Nations and actually Ukrainian. It's another nationality. And so he's really gotten into exploring and finding out more about it. So we talk about all kinds of strange stuff.
Like my husband
I want to thank you guys all.
So
what's that?
Same. I'm saying my husband's in psychotherapy, so our conversation.
Oh, I bet. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. Have to have flies on our walls, and then they can switch walls.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Lorilei.
Thank you. Like I said, I'd love to have you back on. And what month is that happening? The conference in?
It's in September. So it's
maybe I'll have to come back on before, just to push for the next one or whatever, or come back after and share what, obviously we're not going to give anybody's details away, but share what happened and what was cool. And,
definitely. Sounds good.
So if you ever want to get a hold of me, you guys, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/theangelrock. You got a show idea, guest suggestion. I also do readings. I do energy healing work. I do some mediumship, mentorship. 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University. We talk about many of the spookier side of things, trying to understand and share and ask questions. And then the Angel Rocker Tribe is many for the things that we talked about tonight, the power of the mind and all kinds of things like that. So again, Lana, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's here. I send you all so much love and light. Thank you for your patience with this. Like I said, never in all the years of podcasting, there's got to be a
always remember my episode.
Yes, they didn't want the internet did not want you to be sharing the magnificence of lucid dreaming, and I agree that it definitely is. So take care, everybody. We'll see you Thursday, same space, same time. Take care. Much love.
Bye.